Hey guys, we're finally here at the third and last stage of the tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're gonna create inline keyboards so that we won't have to type up commands into our bot whenever we want to pull up the budget, expenses, and savings. Instead, what I want to have is a set of buttons inside the bot that I can just press to give me the values for budget, expenses, and savings. Yeah, but before we start tackling that, I just wanna kind of like spend some time cleaning up our current bot. One thing that I noticed is that when I was looking at the spreadsheet, some of the words that I typed up, they get placed inside the sheet as well, and we don't want that, right? So technically the only things or the only items that we want to be processing or we want to be adding up into this sheet are items that were sent to the bot with a dash or with a hyphen, because that's the bot's current way of splitting the text. So if it doesn't have a dash or a hyphen, that probably means that it's not an item. It's probably just me or the user testing the bot, etc. And we don't really want the user to be, to be sending random words and into the spreadsheet. So we want to be able to tell the bot to like filter for anything that doesn't have a dash or whatever symbol you're gonna want to use, or whatever character you're gonna want to use to split up your text. In which case, for this tutorial, it's a dash. Okay, so let's clean it up first. Okay, so I'm just gonna add here else if it's a message. I'm gonna put here if the message doesn't have a dash, I don't want you to, if a message has a dash, that's the only kind of message that I want you to put up inside the spreadsheet. So I'm gonna say if text index off, and whatever character we're choosing, right? So in this case, dash is not equal to -1. So I don't know. I forgot already how I learned that -1 in Google Apps script means false. But that's how it's currently being interpreted. So I'm saying here, if the text doesn't have, if the text has a hyphen, right? Because this two will cancel out. So this means like not equal to and false. So technically that's like true, right? So I'm just gonna say if it has a hyphen, I want you, I'm gonna copy this, even the append actually. So if the text has a hyphen, that's the only time you need to create a date for it, reformat a date for it, right, and append it into the spreadsheet. Okay. Otherwise, if it doesn't have a hyphen, you may return this message. And then we're just gonna add up one more message here saying, okay, added to your expenses. So only words that has a dash or hyphen will be replied to with an okay added to your expenses. Otherwise, if it's just random words, if you're just like playing with your bot, what it should return should be, please send your purchases in this format. So let's see if this will work. Sorry. Okay. What's the name of the oh, here we go. Send message. Alright, so as you guys can see, I was testing it earlier already. So I'm gonna say test. It's not working. Let's see why not. There we go. Found it. Hopefully that's it. That's not it. Let's check our settings for deployment. This is correct. This is correct. Okay. Under Y. Sheet, pen row, return send message, ID. Else, if it's just a normal. Got it. Why is there that pen row there? Alright, so it's working. It's working as expected. So any word without a dash gets replied to with the standard message. Now let's say I'm like really putting in an item. I say like milk. I say like $2 or something. Okay, it says it's been added to the expenses. And as you can see, it was added, but these words, the test, and K whatsoever, they're never put into the spreadsheet. So let's test that out. See, there's none. But if we say like, I don't know, like steak or something, and say like $30, there you go. Okay guys, so here comes the fun part, because we're gonna start coding the inline keyboard. Now there's two main keyboards in Telegram. Typically in documentation, when the word keyboard gets mentioned, where the documentation is talking about this kind of keyboard, where the keyboard is literally the buttons are in the keyboard where you typically type things up. But this is not a keyboard that we want. We want an inline one, which is inside the message stream, right? So instead of us typing up the words expenses, savings, and budget, I just want to have like, small buttons that we can click so that we won't have to type those things out. And in order to do that, we will be needing a function that can accept 3 parameters. So actually we can still say send message. So so it should be ID, text, and keyboard. But instead of using this, we're going to use a better way, a sexier way of sending over the data. So I'm just going to copy paste it, whatever I have here, for the sake of, oops. This is from my old bot. are we? Send message. Okay. So I'm just gonna copy paste that, and let's try to test that one out. Okay, so let's try and test that out. Keyboard. Now, obviously, keyboard is not yet defined, so we're gonna try to define that right now. Keyboard. Inline keyboard. So, and when you're creating a keyboard, an inline keyboard for the matter, there's two things that you need to have. The first one is the text or the label of the button, and the second one is a callback data. Callback data, and I'll show you where that comes from, but you know, basically that's what gets sent to the API whenever someone taps our fancy inline keyboards. Touch it, and then I'm just gonna copy paste this. And then I think the last one is savings. I hope this works. I think it will. I hope it will. There you go. Ooh. Okay, so it worked. Okay, so yeah, I want to show you guys what happens when you click on one of these buttons, right? So, because right now we need to type things up for the bot to return some values, but I want to eliminate that completely, and I want to be able to press on these and like get the results that I want or the numbers that I want. So let's revisit that URL where we can get some updates and pull up exactly what the users are sending. So again, that's just api.telegram.bot, and I'm just gonna add this in. Oops. Okay. And then I'm gonna delete the webhook for the meantime. All right. Why did that? And that's weird. And then I typed out get updates, so I'm gonna try to get updates method, and then it's telling me now that I can, you know, everything's set up. I can try sending things out, and it should, when I refresh this, reflect here, right? So that's the first one. So that's me sending a message, but let's try clicking in on an inline keyboard. What would happen? And what would the data structure be? There you go. So let's look at it closely, right? So on the first message, I sent out a message, right? So this is the whole contents that we parse. I sent out a message, it reflects as a message. But the second part, right? The second data that gets sent to our that gets sent is no longer a message but a callback query. So you no longer call it a message, it's a callback query. And the callback data, as you can see here, callback query data is exactly what the user sent. So this is your callback data that is part of our keyboard. So whenever somebody presses or taps one of those buttons, this gets sent over to our Telegram bot API. This gets queried over. Okay. Okay, so back to coding. Now that we know what the data structure looks like, let's turn on the webhook again. And then basically, so we have to prepare the bot for when it receives a callback query or a callback data. So starting from here, right? So we're saying there's two types of contents. One is a message and one is a callback query. So I'm just gonna say if contents callback query, right? It's just what I'm gonna say. So if the contents are a callback query, and then else if contents message, and I don't know if there are other kinds of content, so I'm just gonna leave that open here. So I'm not gonna use the word else. So okay. All right, so now we're just prepping things up. So if the client sends in or the user sends in a message, we want to repeat, or we want to keep on, but I think the SSID and the sheet should be out here because that's gonna be needed by our callback query code as well. Sorry. Okay, so if it's a message, we still want these two lines here, and then we no longer want this, right? Our callback that's going to be processed on our callback query code, but we still want this. Okay. Okay, so if what we received or what the bot receives is a message, we want it to flesh out the ID of the user and to flesh out the text of the user. And once we have the text, let's look at that text if it has like a dash or a hyphen. And if it does have a hyphen, let's get the date, let's reformat it, and then let's split the text. Once the text is split, let's append it to the spreadsheet and send back a message confirming that we've appended it. So add it to your spreadsheet. Otherwise, if it doesn't have the dash or the hyphen, let's continue sending or instructing the user what the right formatting is as far as like putting things on the spreadsheet is concerned, right? So what happens when we get a callback query, when the bot receives a callback query? Pretty easy. We basically just want this to happen. Right? We want that. We want this, but instead we say if data. Okay, so the first part I think is to flesh out the ID. Contents callback query from the ID, and also var ID, and then also flesh out the data or the callback data, which is going to be contents.message.data. Callback query.data. And then let's just trust she. Okay. Let's see. Let's hope that this works. From the arms, from the love and whipping. Where does that correspond? Sorry guys, I'm making sure. So this green thing here corresponds to this keyboard. So this should correspond to the message. And I think we're missing one more. And that's it. And the love and whipping. Let's publish it. Hope this works. Just as long as it takes. Okay. Clicking on a budget. Perfect. It's working. Okay. Now let's send a message. Perfect. And send a message with a hyphen. All right. It looks like it's working finally. So yeah, I think that's the step-by-step process to getting to this point. I know that this tutorial was lengthy, but it took me a while when I was studying this myself. And so I hope that you guys find this helpful. And good luck on the project that you're doing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.